So hello, my name is Guy Keshet. I'm a Force.com certified system and application architect. Not quite as certified as Melissa, only 12 certs, but still. And this is Aparna.
Hello everyone.
Aparna is a certified Commerce Cloud developer, hopefully soon to be architect when we can sort her web assessor account. So she'll be the brains, I'll be the muscle, I think. And the point today is to try and introduce Force.com developers to Salesforce B2C Commerce Cloud, formerly known as Demandware. So what is Salesforce B2C Commerce Cloud? Well, it's quite a mouthful. In a nutshell, it's a software as a service e-commerce solution hosted on its, formerly known as Demandware, hosted on its own infrastructure, its own data center, its own CDN, and so on. As you would expect from an e-commerce tool, comes with its own scalability for things like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and so on. Used by, I think the numbers changed. I don't know if, Pete, you know the latest number. Is it 3,000 businesses worldwide? Something like that, yeah? No? Sorry, forget it. Yeah, sounds good, yeah, okay. Adidas, Puma, Marks & Spencer, where we are at the moment, and so on. A merchant is provided with a full set of out-of-box features, so you can deploy, plug and play, just put your images and run on a shop, or you can customize it as you see fit, which is partly what we'll talk about. And you can write your own extensions, host it on your own data center, on Heroku, on Docker, and the likes, and integrate with. So you can add your extensions on Commerce Cloud data center using using web development toolkit. So Node.js, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and so on. Or you can write it on your own infrastructure and integrate through Okapi. What's the O for? I forget.
Okapi means open source, open commerce API.
Thank you. REST API. Wrong one. And I'm going to hand over to Aparna to talk about what it really is.
Hello everyone. And before I start, I would like to mention a few things. This is my first presentation at the Open Group, and please bear with these non-fancy presentation slides. And I'm very nervous, to be frank, so to reduce my nerves, I want this session to be very interactive, okay? So, may I know how many people here know about Commerce Cloud or heard about the Commerce Cloud? Okay, thank you. So, yeah. Before I start this one, let me give you guys about my background. I have around 12.5 years of experience, mostly into development, and around 6 years of experience in the Commerce Cloud. So recently I joined a different organization. Earlier I used to be with the Mothercare. They are specialized mother and baby retailer. They use Salesforce Commerce Cloud, by the way. And we can start now. Yes. Commerce Cloud earlier used to be Demandware is the company which developed this product. And in 2015, Salesforce acquired this product and renamed it as a Commerce Cloud. It mostly provides vanilla website and the processing features to run any e-commerce websites. It's just for e-commerce. We can't use this one to run any insurance or any other websites, just for purely e-commerce website, and that too B2C, not B2B or B2C. No, it can't, yeah. So by default, this is a SaaS platform. So what does it mean is it provides us a bit of vanilla websites and a reference applications. Along with that, it will support all application processing as well. So these are the main features it will provide out of box. First one is the user management. User management means all you can do is only you can control and access to the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, that's it. And global preferences means, let's say you have a retailer, any retailer, you can configure different time zones, in which time zones they are selling. Site management is just for operation team. And code and data replication, I will come back to this topic later. So the main features, key features they provide is a bit of merchandising and content management and a bit of customer management and searching and basic SEO, analytics. Analytics is very bare minimum one. And it has a AI-powered tool called Einstein. We use this Einstein to provide recommendations. So at the moment, we can provide recommendations only on website. We can't embed any recommendations for email templating, okay? So these are the available tools which were provided by Commerce Tool. First one is the Business Manager. It's like an admin console where you can do the administration for the sites or merchandising your sites. And the Control Center, it's only for operational team where they can control your sites or managing the users. And earlier, they used to support only Eclipse. And further, they developed a UX Studio. And right now, they will support other IDEs like Visual Studio Code and WebStorm also. And Account Manager, it just allows to manage and create user accounts. And Exchange is the form. This one, Exchange, is very good where you get a lot of information about the Commerce Cloud. So, by default, like I mentioned earlier, it provides some reference applications. First one is SiteGenesis JavaScript controller. So it's not based on mobile-first design application. It's just a simple web application. So, and it's built on MVC concept, obviously. And recently, they introduced a new reference application called Storefront Reference Architecture. It is mainly focused on building application, building it mostly mobile-first design is their main concept, main principle. And they will provide full vanilla site featuring full functional elements as well. So here, this one is mainly took reference from Node.js and also Express module. Based on that, they built this one.
I would equate it to classic and Lightning or even Lightning web components, whereas SiteGenesis contains probably more proprietary code and building blocks, for example, pipelines, whereas SFRA is much more focused on CommonJS, uses Bootstrap, for example, and much more kind of standard web tools, which also means that to get developers to onboard to the tool is much easier if you get, so I'm going to say generic web developers, so people are familiar with React, with Angular, with JavaScript. We should find it fairly easy to work on SFRA.
And this is the Realm architecture. So what does it mean by Realm? In Realm, all you will have is just develop and test and deploy in the e-commerce site. And the thing is, they have this point of delivery zones. So first one is the primary instance group where you will have your pre-production, production, and as well as the QA box. And they will provide you by default some sandboxes. It's like an individual developer can work on that. That's called the secondary instance group. And on top of that, everything will be on the Commerce Cloud. Means they will by default provide you guys CDN, web servers, application servers, databases, and storage, and other relevant network also.
I would say, unlike Salesforce, which tends to be more a B2B tool and an admin tool, obviously we're talking here about a B2C tool. So the focus is in keeping the show running. So deployments typically would be your CI/CD is typically going to be to the staging environment, and you would then control when do you actually release your code to the live environment. Hence this separation between staging and production, and you also have, it's a bit confusing, development sandboxes for testing. So
yeah, let's take Deliveroo. Deliveroo might have some categories and the products to sell on website. And if you have to feed product information and the price information, you will feed that information on staging. That is a pre-production. And on production, you can feed directly the stock, means inventory. That should be, it can be real time. And you can feed recommendations directly on live. You no need to feed recommendations on staging and do the data replication on live. And what else we can do on staging? Yeah, you can do all the merchandising on staging. Like, let's say you want to run a campaign, like for a new customer who is coming onto Deliveroo, you want to give them some free voucher, like £10 for the first order. You can run that campaigns. You can create those campaigns on staging, and you can do the data replication on live, and it will be available to the customers. So another advantage with this Commerce Cloud is you can have only one site, but you can have multiple storefronts. What does it mean is you can have one running application behind the scenes, but on top of that, you can have multiple websites. Like you can launch your website in UK, Japan, or US, different locales it support, and you have to do the bare minimum configurations to run these applications. And this is the configuration. Like Realm has a different configuration. First one is the single Realm. Let's say you have a simple website and you don't have a multiple brands or very big business behind that website. You can use a single realm. What does it mean is all your development team will work on single realm and the same process, policies, and the same developers. But still, you can launch different local websites. When it comes to multiple realms means you will have two separate, means more than one realm, where you will have a different development team for each realm, and the process also very different. Let's say if you want to launch a website in Middle East, they will have their own business process behind the website to run the website. During that cases, you can use the multiple realm. Or let's say if you want to run your business, let's say your business nature is to sell different products, but those products can't sell on each country, like brand restrictions or something. Then also you can use these multiple realms.
Okay. Yeah. So some considerations when you're working with Salesforce B2C Commerce Cloud. So I mentioned that the DevOps approach would work as far as staging. You can automate your full CI, CD, whichever variant you like. But the production releases would use the proprietary mechanism of pushing code from staging to production, again with the emphasis being control of change of a live site. The preference is to use its Cloudflare CDN. You can use your own CDN. You will not have, for example, you would lose some of your SLA commitments. Yeah? So the preference is to use Cloudflare. One of the things we found in our recent project is you don't have out-of-box lazy loading. You have to build it yourself. As I explained earlier, it comes. You have this storefront. You have a reference architecture that you deploy, but you're welcome to extend it. If you're familiar with JavaScript require, you can postpone, you can prepone, you can add your code as you see fit. In terms of Service Cloud and Marketing Cloud, at the moment, Salesforce have released 2 connectors, which are a private GitHub repo. They're not officially supported. We're finding out at our expense at the moment which features are working and which aren't. Customer 360 will, of course, fix all of it. But that's where we are at the moment. And last but not least, if you want a sandbox, you have to sign up, get an account, sign up as a partner or as a customer, and at a charge. So no free sandboxes as you would have for support.
These sandboxes for the developer, for starters, you can register it, and they will give you for free hours, like limited free hours, because these sandboxes are hosted on AWS, so they will charge if you use more than that quota.
Indeed.
Along with this one, they have different I didn't mention here deliberately. Along with this Commerce Cloud and the e-commerce facilities, they have a bare minimum facilities to provide support OMS, order management system, and customer management system, and as well as they have this app where a retailer, like a store retailer, can use in store to place in orders.
So there is a mobile app for in-store employees to interact. It can replicate fully the site behavior, or it can be a more dedicated kind of till application.
But these applications are not very mature. This order management system or these apps are not very mature. So if you have a startup business, you can use their out-of-box features. But if you are working for an established organization or an enterprise, you can't use those out-of-box features.
That's where force.com comes in. I think that some further reading links when we'll share the deck afterwards. So there are some Trailheads module. They are more about the business use cases. The documentation has been made public about 2 or 3 months ago. So actually, it's all available on this link. And if you are on Partner Portal, there is a Partner Navigator that actually has quite a lot of onboarding courses and further reading information if you're interested. And I think we're going to go to do some code.
So I can't execute any code right now, but I can show you guys what structure of the code. So the structure here is we have this, we have everything within the cartridges. Cartridge is nothing but like it's a placeholder for the source code.
Package.
And package. Not really a package.
Stand corrected.
So if you look at this test underscore core, is the core module. So they will provide you the bare minimum features to run any website, to run any commerce website. If you guys look at this one, forms, we use these forms for HTML related elements, for HTML related elements only. And under JS, you will have scripts like JavaScript files. And these are the scripts. Like on Commerce Cloud, we can use this Node.js language, and which is compatible with these common JS modules. So you can write both client side and the server side in the JavaScript itself. So if you look at these scripts are nothing but server-side scripts. And I will open you guys. Yep. If you look at the structure, file structure and things, it looks like very similar to the JavaScript. And we have these hooks. So yeah. Hooks is like if you want to extend your application, or let's say if you want to integrate with the other third parties, you can configure here. Well, for instance, Apple Pay, if you want to introduce Apple Pay for your e-commerce website, you just need to integrate here, and then you can call their APIs. And next one, this one is the templates. Like let's say if you want to go to the home page, they will have home page, and the contact us and customer services.
So I mentioned that inside Genesis was a bit more proprietary code. The ISML idea is a proprietary HTML that allows you to insert placeholders to allow business users to change the content on the fly. So the point of ISML is to build encode the placeholders that would then appear in Business Manager and allow your merchandiser to go and change images, pricing, links, and so on.
And now I will show you, guys, the vanilla sites by default Demandware provides. So this is a website for US by default. And this is just bare minimum website, so you won't see much merchandising elements here.
Connected? Yes. Yeah. So all of the features you see in here are out of box. So things like the ability to discount, the breadcrumbs, presentation.
Search refinements and filtering, and also the product tiles on the search result page. Everything is out-of-box features. Even the reviews also, up to a certain extent, you can get the reviews as out-of-box feature. But if you want to do much on reviews, then out-of-box feature won't work properly. And these color swatches also, it's a configurable, and this is out-of-box feature. If you look at this one. So if you look at the PDP also, all these things comes out of box feature. For social accounts, all you need to do is you need to configure that credentials, and it will start work on it. Let me show you one example where I will place an order. So all this one, I haven't done any configuration changes or anything. This is just out-of-box functionality they will provide you.
Todd, if we can have your credit card, we can show a demonstration of it.
So even this single sign-on also out-of-box feature. Guys, can you please help me with the PIN code? I'm not very good with the PIN code.
Zip codes, no idea.
I have no idea, so I just copy paste it. So if you observe these shipment methods also, I haven't done any configuration. So these are the by default out-of-box features they will provide you. Please close your eyes. Everyone, please.
Good. It's the same as mine. Surprising, that.
So this is the summary page.
Nice.
And I placed an order. That's it. And if you guys want to see that order, this is the admin console you will have.
So as Aparna mentioned, you get a bit of an OMS with the tool upfront. Typically, you'd integrate it with SAP, Force.com, OMS tool of choice.
So this is how it looks if you look into the admin console. If you want to go into payment details, by the way, they will, by default, they are PCI compliant. So they store our payment card. So we no need to worry about the PCI compliance when you launch websites in EU.
Probably worth mentioning maybe a word about the pricing mechanism. So Salesforce B2C Commerce Cloud has a revenue share model. There is a hosting, there's a fixed hosting cost, but generally speaking, the cost works on a revenue share. So you pay a percentage of what you pay, or what you make goes to Salesforce, with the idea behind it being that you have a kind of a partnership, a win-win situation. It's in Salesforce's best interest to enable you to sell more through the tool, because they will make some more revenue as well.
So this is how it looks, like order line item details. Okay. Now I will show you guys about the non-EU, non-US website. So what does it mean is, by default, it's supporting Japanese, Chinese, and the French and Italian languages. So please don't ask me what is these characters are.
So just obviously supports other languages, just not out of box. The site we're working on at the moment, which is M&S International, supports 8 languages across 40 countries, for example.
So they provide by default bare minimum language translation also, but their language translations are not very good. So if you want to launch properly in the non-English speaking websites, non-English speaking countries, then it's better to go with the separate translation services.
Not too dissimilar to Force.com.
Yeah. And now I will show you guys about how we can organize the price books. So yeah, these many price books you can configure on for a single website. Oh, sorry, I'm showing some customers' data. Okay. Okay. And you can assign more than one price book to the different websites.
So obviously being e-commerce site, product catalog is a pretty important component. Your product catalog drives your browsing, so your category pages, your product pages are kind of driven dynamically from your product catalog. And you would have, typically you would have at least 2 catalogs. You have your basic catalog, which drives the behavior, and you have your
category catalog. It will have just category where you can navigate on the websites.
And then you would have your live catalog with your pricing, which you change obviously as you see fit. Obviously, some customers have prices that don't change very frequently, and some change it on the fly every day.
Yeah. And another important tool I forgot to mention. So for developers and for merchandiser, this is a tool called toolkit. So it is very helpful. Let's say if you want to see what are the non-product contents are available on the website, you can use this content information and page information also. Let's say if you want to see what are the templates or what are the how many controllers you are loading on this particular page, you can just click on page information and you will see all that information. And also caching information. So you can see on particular web page where exactly you have a caching points. You can see that one using this caching information. And the request log, you can track the number of requests on the particular action, for the particular action. So may I know how many people here are related to sales and marketing team? Do we have any sales and marketing team people here? No? No? Then that's good, I can reveal that. So, as Salesforce normally sell to the company saying that you can launch any website within 4 weeks. But ideally, with my experience, I can tell you, it will take around 6 to 8 months because we don't live in ideal world. And in order to run this website, we have to do a lot of background work. For example, let's start with the categories and the product information. You need to feed that data properly into Commerce Cloud, then only it will recognize the data. And similarly, the pricing information, similarly the taxations, and similarly the payment integrations, and similarly, what is the other thing I forgot to mention?
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously what we're talking about is your customizations, your integrations is where the effort comes in. The 4 weeks would be if you take it out of box as is, just change the imagery, put your pricing, assuming your product catalog is very simple.
And we are living in microservices world. The fancy word right now is very, fancy word. But the thing is, Commerce Cloud doesn't support by default exposing the web services. You can't expose any web services directly on Commerce Cloud. In order to do that, you have to do a lot of integrations. Okay, and also in order to consume any microservice also, you have to do a lot of background work. So those are the advices I can give you guys. So any questions? Yes, please.
No, you're the rugby player. Go. Look at that.
Right this time. Great presentation, and you covered a lot of ground there. I noticed that your development platform, your configuration platform is very JavaScript based there. And when you demoed the VS Code kind of back-end code there, obviously the example you demonstrated was labeled test core. So I'm curious, what capabilities are there for testing? So if we look at something like Lightning Web Components as an example, which is also JavaScript based, one of the recommended tools, if not the recommended tool, to use for testing the JavaScript is using the Jest framework. Is that something that you can also use in this scenario?
Not really. You can't use very... So the thing is, as a developer, we can code in the JavaScript using their APIs to interact with the database objects. But in order to test that one, they recommend that Mocha and Chai, you can use it for unit test cases. And in order to do the functional, you can use the Selenium. And if you want to test the integrations, you can use the Fitnessy. But it doesn't fully support the test-driven development yet. It has its own limitations. If you want to implement proper test-driven development approach, then you have to struggle initially. It's not that straightforward. You have to struggle initially.
Okay, thanks.
Any more?
Unless anyone else has got another one.
There's a question there. Go for it.
I'm not that good.
Hello? Yeah. Hi. So basically, I have two questions. The first one is regarding customer data, because you said we can have like different sites for different countries, and different countries have different laws regarding customer data. So can you add that particular logic inside e-commerce cloud?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Yeah, if you have customer data for different countries, can you adapt the rules?
You can share the customer data between the websites, but provided, let's say if you have the same business process across different websites, then you can share the customer data. But if you have a different business process between the websites, then you can't share the data, customer data. But you can share products, pricing information, and shipment information. It won't stop you.
In terms of what we're asking about the implementation, I assume of compliance laws.
Yeah.
So if you saw, you have the ability to run your site on one pig, on one realm, with multiple sites, or you can have it on different realms. And similar to in Force.com, the decision when running on one org or multiple orgs, that would be one of your drivers. So if you're not... So if you have very harsh rules that you mustn't share customer data or that you need different compliance laws, you'll probably be driven into multiple realms to have that separation, maybe even different code bases. If you can build, I assume you can build it on one, but obviously you need quite a lot of custom code.
Okay.
So that would be, I would say, argue that would be one of your drivers. Obviously, one realm would be in one data center.
Yes.
Multiple realms would be multiple data centers. So if you want your data center to be, let's say, Germany, for example, then but not include data of customers in a different continent, then again, you would probably go with the multiple realm approach.
Okay.
So that's that flexibility you have in terms of your deployment.
Okay. The other question is, I remember you saying that you have to import the product data, and I know you have to import like categories and catalog and things like this. Is there a way, because a lot of customers most likely that have Salesforce already would say they have all the products in their Salesforce org, is there a way just to plug in their org into e-commerce cloud?
There is no plugin available, ready-made plugin available.
I've not seen it. So the ingestion, what we haven't shown is Commerce Cloud comes with an FTP tool, WebDAV, that is where you ingest files and can also export. I've not seen a connector for force.com. Again, Peter, I might put you on the spot. It's not listening. Do you know if there is a connector for product catalog between force.com and Commerce Cloud? I've not seen any. Yeah.
Okay.
Roadmap. No, so we've not seen it, but I'd also argue, so first of all, you can have your product catalog just on Commerce Cloud if you like. Yeah. But typically I would, the expectation is you integrate it from a pricing tool. Typically it's your, I don't want to say SAP, ERP tool, it's usually SAP, or your finance systems.
Okay, yeah. Those are my two questions.
Yeah, and typically, as we mentioned, there'll be a significant amount of work around that, around the ingestion, about translating the, your ETL format and so on. Data enrichment. Where we work now, you get your pricing from ERP, but then you get your images from Adobe Scene 7. You might get some updates from your franchise partners. So typically, it's where quite a lot of the complexity lies.
Anyone?
Okay. Anyone? I like this game.
So my question would be, how is it integrated with force.com? Is there any connector, any direct integration that's currently in place?
So there is a connector for Service Cloud, which I've not tested yet. So again, so we mentioned the cartridges. Basically, if you think of the equivalent of App Exchange apps, you get cartridges from various suppliers. So for example, the Apple Pay is a cartridge that you install. And there is a cartridge supplied by Salesforce, which does the connecting with Service Cloud. Again, at the moment, it comes with, like Salesforce Labs, it comes with no guarantees, no support. But it has been used by several projects. We're implementing at the moment a similar one for Marketing Cloud. Some things work brilliantly, some don't.
Thank you.
And I mentioned that the roadmap is Customer 360 will give you at least the customer identity synchronization, safe harbor roadmap, all that, yeah.
Cheers, thank you. Yes, I have one, if that's okay. So you mentioned the cartridges for things like the Apple Pay integration. In terms of the other side of, I suppose, the ecosystem in terms of reusability, can you get components from this kind of cartridge ecosystem? So let's say you want, I don't know, image sliders, or I suppose reusable chunks. Are they available in cartridge land, or even theming? Are there people out there selling these things?
Yeah, so I mentioned it's like App Exchange. There is, what is the name of the marketplace? Is it Link cartridges?
Link cartridges, normally they will provide you with the bare minimum features. Let's say if you want to sell products in a different market in let's say France, and for that one, you won't take headache to transport the products or export the products from UK to France. For that one, you will look for the provider who provides you the cross-border fulfillment. Yeah. For that one, there is a different company which will have the certified cartridge they will provide you, and you can embed that one in your code base. If you need it, then you can do the customization on top of that.
So a good example is Bazaar Voice. If you want to have reviews, is a cartridge. You download it, you edit there's a cartridge path, and runs, and extends your code. So you can create your own, and your customization is typically an additional cartridge. So that is the mechanism for reusability.
Cool, because I suppose the reason I was asking was around the 6 to 8 months to build something that's really usable in the real world. The more you can buy rather than build is a preference, right? So, cool, thank you.
Of course, but if you buy everything, what all of us do.
We build the things that we...
That's what you would do, yes. Any more questions?
No? Lovely. In that case, I think we have a round of applause for Guy and Aparna. Thank you.